Hi Festers, so today what we're going to do is we're going to start our apple crumble. Now this is going to be split into 2 lessons, that's because it takes more than an hour to make. So you've got an option, you can either do it as the timetable lessons are set over 2 weeks, or you can do it all in one go and then you won't have a food lesson next week. It's completely up to you how you do it, but it's not due in for another 2 weeks. So the first thing that you need to do is just make sure that you've got the recipe card and it's apple crumble topping, and the ingredients that you need today, okay, are 100 grams of plain flour or wholemeal flour. Now I know flour is quite hard to get hold of. You can still make it without the flour if you just add 50 grams more of oats. You could also add other things in place of the flour, so some coconut flour in there, either desiccated coconut would be quite nice. You could add some nuts in and so forth. So please don't think you can't make it if you've not got the flour. Just add a little bit more of oats into there as well. We're also going to add, for sweetness, 50 grams of sugar. Now again, this can be white sugar, demerara sugar, brown sugar, whatever you've got in the house, it really doesn't matter. And then the ingredient that we're going to talk a lot about today are our oats, and that's 150 grams of oats. The last thing that you're going to need is some butter, and it's 50 grams of butter. Now what we need to have is the hard butter. You can use margarine, that's absolutely fine as well, but it needs to be hard. It'll probably come in one of these foils. Please don't use the ones in the tubs, alright? So it's good for cakes, and that's because it's just quite soft, okay? And we'll just get ourselves in a little bit of a mess. If this is all you've got in, don't worry, I will show you how you can use this, but if you can get the butter, that is much better. Okay, so you're going to need a glass bowl, and what we're going to do is put all of the flour into the glass bowl. And then with your butter, you're just going to chop it up into really small chunks. So I tend to do that on the packaging, sharp knife, and just cut it up. Alright, you don't have to be too precious about this, but we do want nice small pieces. So you might be using either butter or margarine. Now the difference between butter and margarine is where it comes from. Butter is made from cow's milk, alright, so it comes from cows and it's a dairy product. Margarine is a chemical alternative, so it's something that's been made to taste like butter. So it's made up of oils, so like vegetable oils, which are hydrogenated to make it hard. So by hydrogenation, it just means that they pass hydrogen atoms through that to turn it into a solid product. Now it's completely up to you, whichever one you use. It doesn't matter for this dish, just whatever you prefer. So as you can see, what I've got nice and chopped up, and then that's going to go into my bowl of flour, okay? Now what we're going to do today is we're going to use something called the rubbing in method. So when we rub in, what we've got to think is that we're coating all of those grains of flour with the butter, okay? So we really want to get every single grain of flour coated, and that's going to make it nice and crumbly. We're doing something called the shortening process. So when we shorten the gluten, which is the protein found in the flour, it melts in your mouth. It's the same process we use when we make cakes and scones and so forth. Now, if you weren't using the flour, you didn't have any, what we would do is we would rub it into the oats, okay? But if you have got the flour, let's do this. You'll notice at the moment there's nothing else in. Now, the reason that we're putting butter in is that it's going to bind it all together, but fat gives us flavour and it makes it less dry, okay? So, rubbing in technique. I have to stand on my tiptoes because I'm a little bit short. And what we're going to do is, like a digger, is just get the flour and rub it in. Now it's really tempting to squeeze it. The reason that we've chopped the butter up is that we don't want the butter to melt. If the butter melts, it becomes all squidgy and horrible and we just can't cook with it. So we're gonna rub it in. Now it will take a little bit of time, and it's really important we just use our fingertips. If you want to leave your butter at the fridge for a little bit, a little bit earlier, just so it's not as hard, that's absolutely fine. But we just need a little bit of patience. So this could take 5 to 10 minutes, alright? Please don't worry. What you need to be doing is just moving the flour around the bowl. Don't just do one little bit, okay? Don't just be here. Lift it up a little bit, keep moving it, try and chuck it on yourself, and keep moving it around. And what will happen is that flour is starting to coat all of the, the butter is starting to coat all of the flour molecule, all of the flour. And it's going to look like breadcrumbs. So I'm going to turn my camera off. I'm going to keep doing this, all right? And I'll show you what it looks like when it's done. So I've been rubbing that in now for about 5 minutes, and you can see the change is going a little bit more yellowy, and it looks a little bit more like breadcrumbs. Now the check to do is if you put the bowl flat, shake it, all right, you should see no big lumps. Now you can probably see I've got a few little lumps there, so I'm just going to get rid of that. If at any time your mixture starts to stick to your finger, or it becomes a little bit hot and you can feel the fat melting, add a bit more flour. All right, that should bring it back. So we want it to be light, we want there to be no lumps, and it should look like that. Now, what I want to say is that if you had this soft fat, all right, what you would do is you would add that to the flour, and then you would take a fork, okay, and you would fork it through like that. Now, it will take longer, okay, but basically, if you get your hands on this soft fat, it's got a low melting point, so it will melt quite quickly and you'll get yourself into a right mess, all right? So use a fork, fork it through and just have a bit of patience. Now, the next thing that we're gonna add into this dish is your oats. Now, oats are fantastic. Oats are gonna give this crumble a lovely crispy texture, but also it's gonna give us fibre. And I want to talk to you a little bit about fibre. Now, fibre is very important for the diet. Fibre makes you go to the toilet, all right? So one end comes out the other. Now, that might sound a little bit disgusting to talk about when we're cooking, but it's very, very important. Number one, it stops you from getting constipated, okay? Which can be very uncomfortable. Number two, also it can help prevent certain cancers, particularly of the digestive system. I want you to think of fibre like this, all right? So fibre, when you eat it, what it does is it's quite bulky and it will keep you fuller for longer, okay? So also it can help prevent against obesity. So this is fibre. So if you imagine eating this, what fibre does, because it's really clever, is when you eat it, it cleans out your insides, all right? So it literally pushes everything down, gives it a really good clean, keeps pushing until it comes out the other end, all right? So fibre is a very important nutrient. We can find it in loads of places, so oats are a very good source of fibre, but also in fruit and vegetables, particularly apple skins. We can find it in potato skins. Sweet potatoes is a really good source. Dried fruit, nuts and seeds. So it's all around us. We just have to make some healthier choices. Another thing you could do to make this dish higher in fibre, to modify it, is use the wholemeal flour. So anything that has the wholemeal in it, means the whole of the grain, that's got a high fibre content in. So for example, things like wholemeal pasta, wholemeal rice, wholemeal bread and so forth. So just by making those quick little swaps, we can increase our risks, we can decrease our risks of constipation, of certain cancers and also of obesity, which is really important. So oats with all the lovely fibre go in. And then we're going to talk about something that's not quite as healthy, all right, sugar. Now, sugar is bad for our teeth, first of all. It can lead to tooth decay. Over time, it can also lead to obesity and type 2 diabetes, so those things are not good for us. So we've got a little amount of sugar in here. You could miss it out if you wanted to. The reason we're putting sugar on though is because it's going to sweeten this, all right? So we're going to add the sugar. So I'm just using normal white sugar. You can put brown sugar in, just be careful, because a lot of people, from what I've just said, would think, oh, brown sugar must be healthier because it's brown. It's not. Unfortunately, sugar is sugar, no matter if it's demerara, brown sugar, honey even, is not healthier. It's not got less sugar in, it's just processed differently. So that wouldn't be a healthier swap, okay? So the best thing to do to reduce your sugar intake is just to have less of it. So add your sugar into here, and then using a fork or a spoon, very simple. Okay, it's just going to give that a really good mix, so everything is combined, and that is going to be our lovely crumble topping. So what we're going to do now is, if you are going to break this over 2 lessons, is you're going to add your mix into a plastic bag or a paper bag, anything that you can put in the freezer, even a pot, so that we're not using plastics. So pop it into there and it's going to freeze. Now when we put things in the freezer, what it does is it preserves it for longer, so it makes it last longer. So this is a really good thing if you want to get ahead of yourself. Pop it into the bag, pop it in the freezer, and just let it defrost, so come back up to room temperature for about 2 hours before you're going to make your apple crumble. Okay, so that is lesson 1 on how to make the crumble. So if you watch this video, make your crumble topping and then pop it in the freezer, and then you've just got short questions to answer on Show My Homework to see that you've understood this process. And the next lesson we're going to be making the filling, and we're also going to be cooking the apple crumble. Now, if you don't want to make an apple crumble, that's absolutely fine. If you want to put raspberries in there, or any other fruit that you've got, strawberries, blackberries, rhubarbs, whatever you can get your hands on, of course you can use that fruit. Okay, so I'll see you next week. Enjoy.